There is a tremendous difference between the UWP then, that's the one I was in, and now. I mean, the United Workers' Party of the past, I mean, from 1964. Of course, then I was just a young man, and later on as I grew up, understanding the politics, I gravitated to Sir John and the United Workers' Party, basically on the premise that Sir John and his, renowned members of the party, whether it was Hunter Francois, Alan Buskey, George Mallet, you just go on, the list goes on. I remember as a young boy on a Sunday listening to Willie James chronicle the initiatives of the United Workers' Party led by Sir John Compton. And those were about education, building schools, educating our young people. It was about health, seeing about the welfare, the well-being, and the livelihoods of of St. Lucians, young and old. It's about economic activity, agriculture, promoting bananas as the backbone of our economy. And at the same time, looking to tourism, our hospitality. How do we extend the beauty of our country through the embrace and warmth and the tenor of our people to foreigners who may come to visit this country. These were the aspects, these were the, if I should say, the punctuation of our political landscape. And so when you compare that to now, it is a party now that is engaged in name calling.
So you have sent your mongrel forward.
Of a mongrel.
And that he was a mongrel.
Massa mentality.
They should be publicly flogged for what they're doing.
Yes.
Have a retarded
little punk, idiotic, deceptive bastards.
It's about trying to denigrate individuals, and you see the list goes on. So when they call me names, all kinds of names, I accept it. I accept it because most times people think about others the very way they think about themselves.
Philip J. Pear should be put into the Derek Walcott Square. In the old days, they used to call it Columbus Square. And be flogged. Philip J. Pear should be put into the Derek Walcott Square. In the old days, they used to call it Columbus Square. And be flogged.
These guys need to be flogged, boy.
The people of St. Lucia prefer a little cooler why.
The United Workers' Party today, as opposed to yesterday, is a vast difference. They do expedient things.
If I could open 10 schools for my wife, I would open 10 schools for her.
For example, when you think of the event recognizing the 100th anniversary of Sir John Compton's birthday, this was really one of expediency. To use Sir John as a national figure, the father of the nation, one who excelled in his political career, one who stood, as I heard Janine say, for education, for conservation, for building a society of independent people, persons who strive for their own survival. When you hear this, what they did on Friday was one of expediency to capitalize on the name of Sir John Compton, his achievements, what he did in St. Lucia, the region, and the world, to see what political mileage they can gain without having to sweat for it. It's a disturbing trend.
The family was not invited, the family was not notified, the family knew nothing about it. I know people have questioned as to why we were absent. Well, we were absent because we didn't know. There wasn't any courtesy call, message, or anything reaching out to the family on this day. So the United Workers' Party has separated itself from the family of John Compton, or rather should I say the leadership, because I do think that the people continue to, those persons who worked with my father continue to reach out and check on my mother and talk to her and those sort of things. But in the case of the leadership of the United Workers' Party, there wasn't a courtesy call to my mother on that day or before.
And as I heard not too long ago by a video clip which was done during it was a lecture on St. Lucian politics.
When you go through all these guys that you have there, really and truly, the only, I don't want to say aberration in there is Chasney. These other guys, I know we have party politics and I know we're fighting red against yellow, but these guys, all the other ones, that is one continuous line. I am not kidding when I was telling people in the last election, if John Compton was a young St. Lucian back in, when was the last election, 2021? He would have voted for Pipier. Of course, he wouldn't even have had to think about that. The radical roots of George Charles, John Compton, Odlum, Dr. Anthony, and Pipier, that's one line. That is one continuous line of guys who care about the country, about the people of St. Lucia, and how can you best provide an economy that serves the interest of the people of St. Lucia. All of these guys are moving away from plantation economics.
The two parties wanted national progress. What they needed when you spoke to Sir John, and even when you think of him, when you listen to him, then his was really about building a nation.
3 cheers for the Prime Minister. Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip!
When you listen to the Labour Party then, whether it was George Charles or Kenneth Foster or Alan Louisi or whoever served at the time, when you listen to them, it was about the people.
Stand up for your right.
It was about building our country for the people, to enjoy the resources of our country and not just farm it out away to others.
In Mabuya.
So the two parties mainly shared different methodologies, different approaches, different maybe philosophies in some instances, but at the same time they knew exactly what they wanted for St. Lucia, and along the way it was common ground.
Yeah? The only really aberration in that line of men that you have there is the second one from the right there.
Even when I became youth minister, I recall on a number of occasions Sir John at national conferences of the party, what we call the party convention. Sir John used to stand there and give me the accolades, the credit for being one of his most efficient ministers of Dublin. What I can say is that in a number of instances where, as I went around the country to meet with various groups, various organizations, there were people who gave me stories. There was a lady from Bexon who said that at a preparatory meeting to participate in the convention, where the nominations would have been made and the selection or election of officers, once she had indicated to her group that she was supporting Stephenson King and she wished not to change her support for anybody else, immediately by the next meeting, she was removed from that voters list. So she was unable to participate at that convention as a delegate to exercise a franchise. There were those who spoke of having been paid to shift and to give support to another candidate. So these are things that never existed in the United Workers' Party. And that in itself is playing out as we speak, because it is really the essence of the United Workers' Party to operate as a true democratic organization, notwithstanding the thinking of individuals, or if I should say the passion of individuals, or the personal decisions made by individuals in the political process. The current leader of the opposition really doesn't have what I call that passion and commitment to the cause of developing this country and developing the people of the country and maintaining its people together as one united nation. And that is important. If you cannot pursue the cause of uniting your people as one family, and all you see is your own political self-interest, political self-aggrandizement, then you're not speaking the language of the United Workers' Party and the St. Lucia Labour Party for what they stand for in their missions and their visions. You can see even in the symbol of the United Workers' Party, they've manipulated the symbol from what used to be a torch to a thumb with flames on it and all kinds of things. And so the United Workers' Party itself has lost its identity, it has lost its way, it has lost its philosophy.
Where do you fall on that spectrum of philosophy?
I don't have a philosophy, so.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't have a philosophy.
It has lost the spirit of Sir John Compton and those great men who served.
If your daughter's period comes on the weekend, will you go and knock on the school door and ask the security to open there for you so you can get some pads? I ain't polishing no language. I ain't calling no sanitary napkin. Period products.
The lazy roller and the snake did not just betray the United Workers' Party.
Would you, Mr. Prime Minister, under any condition at all, decide to change allegiance from the United Workers' Party to another political party, or form your party as the MP for Miku North right now?
If the circumstances were there and it made sense,
Miku South,
it made sense to the people of Miku South, and I could go and justify to them, I would do it.
I never ever imagined that the UWP would have turned out to be what it is today. Had the UWP maintained its course, and the UWP maintained what I call the guiding principles of the party, what Sir John believed in.
Mamai look at la Couville! Mamai deraso!
Are you ready to take our country back?
We have been in discussions with construction companies from China.
Say it with pride, the pearl of the Caribbean. That when people say I am from Vieux Fort, soon people will not know Vieux Fort. You are from the pearl of the Caribbean. Where you want to be from, a ghetto, or you want to be from the pearl of the Caribbean?
We will allow local tourists to be able to experience the very rare natural features for me.
They want to bring Chinese down. Look at they're giving sandals. 70% Chinese workers in a free country.
Sir John and I had an excellent relationship. In fact, Sir John, when we started the Youth Am, on many occasions met with us and spoke to us, met with me. We discussed the way forward for the United Workers' Party Youth Am. Sir John always teased us on a number of occasions, on a number of things. In fact, he often referred to us as attending meetings coming out of a bread van, and that is because we used to utilize Hollis Bristol's panel van, and I used to take my mother's chairs and put in the back of that panel van to allow for young people to sit down. And by the time the panel van arrived at the meeting, it was 20, 25 of us getting off that panel van to participate. So John enjoyed this sort of thing. He came to our meetings occasionally on a Wednesday when we kept it, sometimes on a Thursday at the old JC's headquarters, we say. So it was really an office to the back of there where the party head office was at the time. That's where we kept our weekly meetings. In fact, we used to say we had two religions. One was our main religion, in my case it was Roman Catholic, and the second one was the United Workers' Party, because religiously every week we met there. That in itself was a fuel to the United Workers' Party to rebuild, to draw the attention, the love and participation of young people into the party. And so when you make that kind of contribution, I getting into government in 1987, providing every bit of service, secretarial service, public relations service, speaking on behalf of the party at all times. And then returning to government in 2006 when Sir John returned and serving another 10 years. It was a tough one for me to depart from the United Workers' Party after Alan Chasney became Prime Minister and demonstrated a behavior that certainly wasn't in keeping with what I knew as the United Workers' Party.
When members come to this house and talk about consultancy fees, $9 million, so what?
Stop it. It is not your job to tell the government how to run government.
So I am not being arrogant. You think so? Yeah. I disagree with you.
And you will see that the persons that were most venomous against me are the persons who are coming from my own class.
Not one of mendicants, not one of people who want to sit by and to say, la gouvernement, Mr. Minister.
That's the mendicant mentality. That's the fundamental difference of what we're doing.
See, some people like that.
Same set of people that get in the food every day. Watch hungry people they have on the road there. Watch them. Hungry people that need food. You hear that? And they're taking all the food and they're bringing it at their home. A selected few, they said, that gets in food.
It was a tough decision. It wasn't easy at all. I'm saying to you that those who voted for the United Workers' Party then, I'm sure, can look at the leadership of the St. Lucia Labour Party and the collaboration and coalition that exists now with myself and others to serve the people of St. Lucia, standing for people and country. I'm sure the majority of the population, those persons who supported Sir John, would certainly say, listen, the best combination that exists is the St. Lucia Labour Party and Stephenson King.